Yeah, I'll begin. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So, namaste to all of you. We are meeting after a very long time. In fact, I think 2 months, or maybe last month we could not meet. October, yes. So almost 1 month, yeah, December. So I was in India, so that's the reason why I could not take the last class. So we'll directly go into the topic. All of you know that we have started the sutras proper. I mean, in the sense, Raj Yoga, the book that we are discussing, is actually not the real name. It is known as Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The topic that we will be discussing now are the sutras themselves. But when we read the book Raj Yoga, the first 9 or 10 classes that we discussed was the introduction to these sutras, because Swami Vivekananda felt that a lot of misunderstanding was there in the West, especially in the name of yoga. So, what yoga is it a separate philosophy? No doubt it's a philosophy. Yoga is one of the 6 systems of philosophy. But yoga, as Patanjali has defined it, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Swami Vivekananda wanted to distinguish it from other forms of yoga. In Gita, we have 18 chapters, each one is a yoga. So, in a general way, yoga means to unite the individual soul with the supreme soul, that is God. So, whatever be the conception of God one has, whether it's a personal God with form, impersonal God without form, personal God, impersonal God without form but with qualities, saguna. So, there are many ways of understanding reality or connecting with reality, which in simple terminology, Vedantic terminology, is known as Jiva, that is the individual soul, and Jivatma and Paramatma. That is the simplest way to understand yoga, because yoga, uh, again, there is a controversy. Yoga, if the goal is a formless God, or maybe there is a yoga system or interpretation of the same sutras by some people who say it is Nirishwara. Nirishwara means there is no personal God. We don't need a personal God to practice yoga. So that comes very close to Buddhism. They also say don't need a concept of God. It's just through mind control, to control of desires, to control of thought waves. So that kind of control is sufficient in that path to lead you to whatever reality is there. The Purusha, the attainment of the conscious Purusha, as against Prakriti, the changing world as we see around us, and we are part of it. We are always part of the changing world because we ourselves are changing. That important point has to be remembered, that in Patanjali's yoga, as we will see now, one sutra after another, the most important point is here, unlike other yogas, like Bhakti Yoga, for example, you are trying to unite with your object of worship or Ishta. So our Jivatma is there. We feel helpless. We want somebody to protect us or guide us and uh, give us strength and give us peace. So we know that people around us can't do that. Society around us can't do that. Even saints cannot ensure that you will have permanent peace, because it is not so easy to have that highest realization without self effort. So, apart from self effort, there is a conception that the divine Paramatma or the Ishvara comes to our help if we meditate on that Ishvara in some form that we like most, like Krishna, like Rama, like Christ. So, all these are worship of God with form. So, Patanjali's yoga has nothing to do. They say, the two schools, they say very clearly, you have whatever conception of God that you have in your mind, it doesn't matter. But the main thing is control of the mind. So, yoga, the second sutra, we are going back to the second sutra, is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means yoga, the whole definition of yoga according to Patanjali. Mind you, I am not speaking of yoga as applied to bhakti. Then it becomes bhakti yoga. As applied to karma, it becomes karma yoga. As applied to jnana, the path of Vedanta, it is jnana yoga. So we have different types of yoga in our tradition. But here we are specifically speaking of a definition of yoga, which simply means in the beginning and till the end, it means only one thing, chitta vritti nirodha. So the first sutra is of course Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Atha means a lot. Atha means now. Yoga is being explained. Now means so many things. Yoga will not be taught to anyone and everyone. Now means after really convincing yourself that yoga is the priority in your life. You see, Patanjali is very particular. He said, casually out of curiosity, don't study yoga, then you will not get much benefit. So, atha means, the commentators explain what is atha. Atha means now. Now means what? Now that you are convinced, having tried all the worldly solutions to solve the problems of life, and having failed in that, understanding that there is no other way but through yoga, which is defined later. Yoga Anushasanam. So, Anushasanam means one thing. Uh, it is a self-imposed discipline. This we have to understand. I mentioned this in my previous class that Anushasana means not just Shasana. Shasana means somebody trying to discipline you. We see Shasana, examples of Shasana everywhere. The king is ruling over the subjects, the school teacher is trying to discipline the students. And then we have a lot of people, uh, parents trying to discipline their younger ones, the children. So that is a discipline imposed from outside. So Anushasana means a very strict discipline which is self imposed. You cannot or you should not practice yoga unless you are convinced that yoga, the discipline that is required of you, whatever discipline you need to practice this yoga, Patanjali is warning us, has to be Anushasanam. Anu is an extra word. Shasanam means discipline. Anushasanam means a kind of self discipline which is self imposed or voluntarily accepted by you because you have felt the need of a superior method to solve all the problems of life. Having tried all methods, having tried taking help from people around you, your near and dear ones, the so called near and dear ones, and having tried several other people whom you trust, having found that none of these are enough to solve your problems, when you are mentally prepared to solve your problem yourself, Swami Vivekananda says in his Raj Yoga, you have to take your own, take the responsibility on your own shoulders. There's none in the universe that can help you. Of course, those who believe in a personal God, they believe in the highest reality who comes in a particular form as Krishna, Buddha, Christ. So they are the redeemers, they are the absolute, who have the absolute reality, who alone can help this uh, troubled world by their respective incarnations. If they have incarnated in human body, in flesh and blood, or they may be deities, they may be some conception of God which we have, which will answer to our prayers. So that is bhakti yoga. Though it is a yoga, it has nothing to do. There also the chitta vritti nirodha, control of mind or control of our thoughts is involved, but in an indirect way. What you do in Bhakti Yoga, for example, I'm just giving an example, that in Bhakti Yoga you have the prayer where you focus your thoughts on the on your beloved, the beloved Ishta, the God whom you adore. And in that process, you are indirectly, not directly, indirectly controlling your other thoughts. You don't allow other thoughts, at least when you are praying, when you are practicing devotions, for some time at least, you don't think useless thoughts which are of no use to you, or you don't allow them to arise. Whereas in yoga, it's not necessary, in Patanjali's yoga, which we are discussing, it's not necessary to have a belief in a personal God. So there are people who are atheists. Are they not? Do they not deserve the discipline of yoga? So Patanjali says it is fine. Even Buddhists say, Buddhists are very clear about it. They have no conception of God. He said, don't waste your time trying to find out whether there is a God with form, without form, whether he is in heaven or whether he is on the earth. You don't have to bother about all those things. But the very fact that the problem, the real problem lies in your own mind. You take care of your mind, and the problems will take care of themselves. So, the first definition, and Swami Vivekananda has discussed this small sutra, uh, a cryptic statement, for almost 4 or 5 pages. That's why we'll have to focus a little more, because this is the very definition of yoga. Chitta Vritti Nirodha doesn't mean uh, just con- just taking care of our thoughts. It's not such an easy thing to control the thoughts. First, you should know what is the origin of our thoughts. We have hardly thought about it. We just think. We are forced to think. You can say, right from the moment we get up, when we are conscious, when we are not sleeping, when we are dreaming, or when we are woken up, what happens is constantly thoughts are arising. We do not know from where they are arising. Sometimes pleasant thoughts come, sometimes peaceful thoughts come, and sometimes without any explanation, without any external influence. You're just sitting quietly in a beautiful place. Then hideous thoughts comes to you. These thoughts come, and then you don't realize from where, what is the source of these thoughts. You may, psychology may say it is in the unconscious, repressed thoughts of the past, repressed memories of the past, suppressed memories of the past. They are just coming to the surface, to your conscious plane, and you are aware of it when you are thinking those thoughts, but you are not aware of them when they are hidden deep within the recesses of your mind, the unconscious. So, the definition of Chitta Vritti Nirodha presupposes that you know what is the origin of the thoughts. So, it's a very difficult sutra to understand, because just saying control the thoughts, uh, you ask any child or any grown up man, even, or person, even, whether it is easy to control the thoughts. It's so difficult. Even if you sit, if you have the most peaceful of all places, you are surrounded by wonderful ambience, quiet place. Even then, you will be surprised to see so many thoughts come. You are not able to focus or do chitta vritti nirodha. That is, chitta means, what is chitta? We uh, try to understand. I'm just repeating because that is very clear. The basic should be understood. Chitta normally, Swami Vivekananda is the first one to translate this word into English. He just calls it mind stuff. Why does he? We can simply say mind. No, he doesn't say. There's a reason. It is the stuff that constitutes the mind. When you say mind, there are two aspects of the mind. One is the static aspect, the chitta, stuff, the stuff from where the thoughts come. Then there is a dynamic aspect of the mind, that is the lower mind, which is known as manas. He is referring to all. Chitta means all of these things. So, what happens is, when there is an action, or when you see certain things through your five senses, you are seeing objects, you are listening to people, you are encountering people, or you are encountering things, objects. So each one of them creates a thought, a reaction. Sorry, it's a reaction. It is a reactive thought. You know the origin. You have seen a chocolate and you feel like eating it, or the thought of acquiring it so that you can eat it. It's a very simple action reaction. That is how most of our transactions take place. For normal people, I'm talking of normal people who are very well balanced, who are very well adjusted, mature people. So they know that when you see a particular object, you will be your mind will tell you, oh, this is a subject, this is a object that you like, and then your mind will tell you, now go and acquire it, either buy it or grab it or steal it, do whatever you like, but the immediate reaction is to get it. So that is known as the raga. So to understand chitta, chitta is all these. It is the external impulse that comes, which creates a reaction in your mind, is also a thought. It is known as manas, lower mind. This is the mind we share with animals. Animals also have that. They are very instinctive in nature. They see food, they run after it. They don't pause, they don't think. That's why we call them animal instincts. So also most of the human beings have a lot of animal instincts. But there is, according to Patanjali or according to Indian psychology, yoga psychology, there is a higher aspect of the mind, which is known as buddhi. That's why when we say chitta, Swamiji has not translated it as the mind. Mind is manas. Buddhi is something which for which there's no English equivalent. But the best English word is the discriminative wisdom. You may call that. That's not a very good translation. Buddhi means that which tells you what to do, what not to do. The choices you have to make will all depend on your buddhi. So if your buddhi tells you that you are tempted to eat it, but you have some kind of health problem, sugar problem, so you don't take it. So the mind will not guide you in that particular decision making. It's the buddhi that helps you. So you have to remember that when you say control of yoga, chitta vritti nirodha, vrittis are the external forms, the thoughts that come. The thoughts may come deep from within the consciousness. That is what you call memory, smriti. That is one of the aspects of chitta. Chitta means mind stuff. So whatever constitutes the mind, lower mind, higher mind, decision making mind, buddhi, everything is chitta. I mean, chitta, vritti, nirodha. So that is why Patanjali is very careful. He doesn't say control the thoughts alone, control the whole mind. So, for that, you have to understand what is the entire mind. So, Swamiji says a good deal of explanation is necessary. It may be just one sutra, but it has to be discussed a lot. Now, he says we have to understand, we have discussed this, but I'm just repeating it very quickly. We have to understand what this chitta is and what the vrittis are. Vritti, there are two words, chitta, vritti, nirodha. Nirodha means to stop or to lessen. We can't stop it, but we have to see that it is a bare minimum, whatever we require. Say you are doing some work which involves certain thoughts only. Then all the other thoughts that come and disturb you is going to spoil your work. So we can't focus on a job, we can't concentrate because there is no chitta vritti nirodha. You have to, nirodha doesn't mean stopping of all thoughts. It means controlling those thoughts which are beneficial and retaining them in the initial stages, and all the other thoughts, not allowing them to come and disturb, and so that there's no lapse in concentration. Whatever work you are doing, it's known as mindfulness. It can also be termed as mindfulness. You totally be mindful of what you are doing. Focus on the present. Don't allow the vrittis, other vrittis to come. Now, what are those other vrittis? So, Swamiji says, first, he says you have to know what chitta is and what vrittis are. So, if you know what is the mind stuff and how the thoughts come, what are the different types of thoughts, then you know the importance of this sutra. So, he says, uh, he gives such a beautiful example to explain chitta. He says, I have eyes. He's giving an example. I have eyes, but the eyes themselves don't see. Take away the brain center. That's the example he's giving. Suppose you have eyes, but the connection of the brain center which processes the information sent by the eye, if that is defective or something is wrong, you may have eyes, the retina may be there, the reflection of the pictures on the retina also may be there, but you don't make any sense. You cannot see anything. He says you will not see. The pictures are there, the objects are reflected on the retina. But since the signals are not somehow, because of some disease or some obstruction, you're, say, for example, blind people. Not that they don't have a retina, they have, but somewhere the brain centers are disconnected from the process of seeing. So the pictures will be there. So that is not seeing. That is not uh, the sense organs are there. The objects are there. The whole world is there outside of you, but you are not able to see. So eyes are only a secondary instrument. They are not the organ of vision. What Swamiji is coming to is the organ of vision is in the brain centers which process this information. So a camera may be there, but if the camera may keep on taking photos, but unless you take those images and study that, it's of no use. It will mechanically go on taking photos. So the photos that you consciously select and see and then make some sense out of it. So that eyes are only the secondary instrument, not the organ of vision. So uh, the nerve center in the brain is more important than the eyes themselves. So now, for example, two eyes will not be sufficient. Sometimes a man is asleep with his eyes open. You see, there are cases, if you sometimes see, they're so tired that the eyes are open, everything is good, but the connection is cut off. So even if there are some people who, when they are tired, they forget to switch off the light. The full blinding light is not able to disturb their sleep. They are so, because the centers have been disconnected. The centers of vision in the brain, they have been disconnected by the process of deep sleep, and they are deep asleep with the eyes open. So eyes are open, the images are going in, they are able to see the objects, but nothing is registered. Light is there. So the eye is the external instrument, and then he says we need a brain center and the agency of our mind. Now, again, coming to the complex idea of what we mean by mind, especially in yoga psychology. So, uh, Swami Vivekananda says, even now the process is not complete. The brain sees. Then he says, along with the image that you are seeing, there is another part of the mind which, see, I told you about the reactive mind. The object is impinging upon through the eyes. Say your brain center is fine. You see an object, it is received by the brain center, then it sends out a reaction and all those things. That is manas. But there is one another aspect of the mind. There are four aspects, in fact. That aspect is known as ahankara. So if you see and you don't associate your ego with it, you will see, and then you will be totally detached. This has nothing to do with me. I am seeing this object, but when that ahankar comes, that I want to eat that chocolate or whatever sweet is there, then the agency comes. Agency, the faculty that decides. First, the agency comes. That is ahankara or ego. Our ego comes. Our ego tells you, now you go. It's telling you specifically. You go and eat that chocolate or try to acquire it somehow. So, the action and reaction, the idea of ego and the idea of object and the brain center and the reaction, everything is presented before what is known as Purusha. Now, what is this Purusha? Purusha is the individual soul. So, what happens is there is someone who is witnessing all the actions. It's not that you see, and every time you see something, every time your object changes, every time the sound changes, every time uh, the other senses are conveying so many information, so much of information to the brain, and the brain has a tough time to process all that and present it to what is known as Purusha, the witness, who is neutral. It is like screen. It is like a screen of a movie. So The screen is independent. The screen has nothing to do with the movie. It's the projection when it is falls on the screen. You get an apparent feeling that it is the screen which is full of characters and movies are we can be seen on that screen. But by if you switch off the camera or the projector, the light will not fall, and then the screen can be seen. It's just a white screen. It is just a substratum on which your projection can be seen. So Purusha is like that. It's like a screen. Whatever Prakriti or the world outside, including your own brain centers, your senses, your eyes, your ears, they're all like the uh, components of a movie. So they are all falling upon what is known as Purusha, which is the screen. And it is the real soul who perceives. It's not the mind that perceives. The mind will not perceive. We have seen that. The eyes open, one is seeing everything, but nothing is projected on the screen. So it is the screen when it is perceived by the conscious principle which is within us, then you say that the whole process of seeing is complete. So without Purusha, who is always present, without the screen, if the movie is projected in thin air, you can't see anything. So they may be there, all the whole Prakriti may be there for you. You have everything. But if the screen, if you're not if the screen is not there, the perceiver is not there. So yoga now tries to find out how can how these external phenomena which is going on around us and being projected to the Purusha can be handled. If you handle it perfectly, you are a well adjusted person. The Purusha which is within us, the pure conscious principle is same. It is peaceful, it is neutral, it is eternally blissful. It is a wonderful state to be in. But unfortunately, the problem is not with Purusha but with the Prakriti. And mind is a part of Prakriti. Prakriti means nature. So when you say nature, it includes the objects, it includes the eyes, the quality of the eyes, the quality of your brain to comprehend objects, everything. And then the whole world, phenomena of the world is falling upon your Purusha, that is your pure conscious principle, who is now making sense of it. If there are too many objects, too many restless mind, obviously the Purusha, though it is neutral, there is too much of commotion, and then you get a feeling that the movie, for example, if we take the movies example, the whole movie is a very hodgepodge of activity, and there are some movies which are very quiet, which move in a very slow pace, and then you are able to make sense out of it. But if there is too much of fights, this, that, and the mind gets disturbed. Of course, it does not disturb the Purusha. That is a important principle to understand. Yoga says Purusha is just the witness. No matter which movie you project on the screen, it's the movie or the motion of the movie or the pictures on the screen that create confusion, not the screen. When you switch off, everything is calm. So to attain, to realize that you are primarily the Purusha who is observing this vast panorama of the world, the more restless it is, and you see, you are all seeing these things through a projector. Projector is projecting all this. Projector is like the mind. So our mind is projecting if the real and all the unconscious memories, if there are too many objects on the screen, then the idea of trouble, idea of anxiety, idea of worry, all the states, different states of the mind are a result of the vrittis not being controlled. So the goal of yoga, that is why Sri Krishna, Holy Mother, everybody used to say, the first preliminary need to have a spiritual life is to develop a love for silence. So that's why they say organizational religion in crowds, and they may be better than other social gatherings and outings. that will help you to focus on one puja, something going on, and you are there for willingly or unwillingly for 3 hours watching the puja, doing all the rituals. It is meant for, definitely, it is meant for people who are just new to spirituality, that instead of going to 100 places, you are going to a place where there is enough confusion but less. And you are focusing on God. Everything is centered around God. The puja is for God, the prasad is for God, even the talks that are going on, the mantras that are being chanted. So it is to reduce the noise. See, the thing is, if it is more noisy than your own situation, then you are better off uh, in a quiet place. If you have the luxury, but if you are always surrounded by uh, noise of the world, it is better to have a lesser noise, which is this. So this congregational worship, whether it is in the church, whether it is in the temple or anywhere, even in the mosques, there's some kind of discipline is there or should be there. I, it is not mandatory. Sometimes it can be noisy, but most of the time, places of worship ought to have a kind of discipline. Even if there are 200 people, the mind should tend towards yoga. So it should tend, if the test of spirituality is whether you are in a congregation which helps chitta vritti nirodha according to yoga philosophy, if it helps, then it is spirituality. If you go to a congregational place and your mind, you go home with a more disturbed mind than what you came there, then somewhere there is some problem. There's no spirituality there. So that is why Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, and Holy Mother said the first condition is solitude. At least there you have to deal with your own mind. You don't have to deal with others' minds. Already dealing with your own mind is a very uphill task. And to deal with other minds is can still complicate things. And then you need a tremendous energy, tremendous strength to maintain your sanity with the uh, chitta vrittis that are your own chitta vrittis and others who are inducing other vrittis. So Patanjali says this soul which is perceiving all these things, there are many aspects to the mind. The chitta, organs, that is indriyas, the eyes that see, eyes, ears, five organs are there, hearing, seeing, tasting, tongue, together with the manas, the mind, the reactive mind, the determinative faculty buddhi, third part of the mind, egoism, ahankara, they form a group, and the whole group of things which constitute the Western concept of mind. When you say mind in the West, it means all this. You don't separate. Of course, you say this is my ego, his ego, others' ego. But here they have made a wonderful classification. You have to understand whenever you say chitta, you have to mean they are indriyas, they are manas, they are buddhi, they are ahankara, that is ego, and the whole group. This whole group, in one word, it is known as antahkarana. The translation of the Sanskrit word is inner instrument. Now, our outer instruments, we have many things. We have our television, we have our computers, we have our smart devices. All these things are external instruments. But there is a internal instrument. There is an internal instrument which is known as antakarana. All this together are various processes. Mind you, you have to understand what chitta is before discussing what chitta vritti nirodha is. All these things, antakarana, your ego, your determinative faculty, that is buddhi, your wisdom to choose, and just the mind, simple mind, a skilled mind, to understand what is what, in to quickly understand and grasp. So we are facing so many things to understand, but to judge them and to take a decision or make a choice, then you require buddhi. Otherwise, you will just go by your reactive mind and then you make so many mistakes like animals. They're just reactive. They know the moment they see their enemy, they have to fight. There's no other way. So if human beings behave like that, If they anticipate, if they don't use their wisdom and try to be very reactive, then you know what is the problem. So, all these four faculties, the organs which give you inputs, the processing unit, which is known as manas, the reactive mind, the buddhi, ahankara, and ego, which connects them. It's ego which we don't realize. This is a very important aspect of our mind. If the ego is less, then all the other three can't harm you. But the problem comes when you have a very stout ego. Then even the least disturbance you react. If the ego is removed, that's why ahankara is supposed to be in bhakti yoga. The first thing that you do is reduce this ego. So you are more flexible, you are more adjustable. The strong ego doesn't assert itself. Otherwise, imagine if a house with five people all having strong egos, everybody wants his way or her way, then the house will be simply there will be confusion. So this ego is also part of antakarana, the internal organ, and they are all different processes in the mind stuff. So chitta is a very broad concept. It includes the conscious activities like all the that I mentioned, manas, buddhi, everything. These are conscious activities. But there is another thing in chitta, the unconscious part which we are not aware. Now we are not aware what is the nature of our unconscious mind. How many good memories are stored deep within our unconscious mind? How many bad memories are stored? How many fearful memories are stored? We do not know. That is so difficult. Yoga proposes a system where you uncover those old memories or repressed memories or suppressed memories. Unless you deal with that, you will have no control over your thoughts. That's the principal idea. The waves of thought. See, thought is a wave. It is just a wave. As soon as you heat, there are heat waves. As soon as you switch on the light, there are light waves. As soon as you switch a electromagnetic device, there are electromagnetic waves. These waves are not different from them. Yeah, if many of you may be subscribers to the Vedanta magazine, so last year we had a series of 3 articles by Swami Ashokananda, who has beautifully described the impact of waves in our lives. Waves means vibrations. Vibrations means waves. Vibrations give rise to wave. If sound vibration, if you beat a tabla or some percussion instrument, it's the vibration of the skin of the tabla that gives some kind of sound. So all the sounds are because of vibration. All the light is because of light vibration. All the electromagnetic and wireless is also vibration. So also Swamiji says thought waves are not different from these vibrations. They are more subtle, the others are gross. Others can be controlled by us, whereas mind cannot be so easily controlled. But yoga says you have to control even mental vibrations. So literally, vritti means the Sanskrit word vritti has a strange meaning. It means a whirlpool. So Swami Vivekananda says, have you seen a placid lake where the water is calm? You just take a stone and throw it, a big stone. Then suddenly the rings of the water forms rings. They are known as whirlpool. So literally, thoughts have been defined in yoga psychology as vritti. Vritti is not just thought, it is a whirlpool. What does a whirlpool indicate? In the mind, there are many objects that are constantly being thrown into the calm lake. When the lake is calm, the Prakriti and Purusha are one. So when yesterday there was a beautiful, nice talk on Holy Mother. I don't know how many of you attended. Uh, I was discussing because my recent visit to Jairam Bati, I was seeing from 5 o'clock people are coming. I went to a room where Holy Mother has initiated lot of presidents, at least 3 presidents, and so many senior monks. And there's a calmness in that room. But because of celebration, they opened the gate in the morning. At least I thought till 7 I can sit quietly. And as soon as I came inside, I mean, as soon as the gate, people started coming inside, they all flocked to that room, mainly for darshan. But you know how Indian darshan is, very noisy. So they started shouting at 5 o'clock, 4:30, at least till 5, there was absolutely silence. And then people coming and talking about their flight tickets, about their train tickets, and at the same time having darshan of mother's room. And some of them even scolding that earlier we could go inside. My God, if you had gone inside, you would create hell. So, and they say it is darshan, and they have gone thousands of miles. They have traveled. Some of them have crossed the whole globe and come there just to go to a place and create this chitta vrittis. They are sharing their vrittis, but then I realized I was first very much upset that why there is so much of noise. Then I thought, Holy Mother lived here. Holy Mother, when she lived, she is such a small room. You can't practically, you have to bend your, if you are tall, you have to bend. The doors are very. So Holy Mother lived there, and then I realized because if you read the biography, she was surrounded by equally crazy people, not just visitors, but her own people used to create noise. Radhu's room was just opposite. So mother is maybe sitting for meditation, and she will shout that I want this, I want that. At the midnight, she will get up. So there was no, they were really crazy people who she had to take care of. So I thought, in the midst of this, somehow she did Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So yoga is possible. I mean, that idea rose in my mind. If she could practice yoga or she could practice meditation, do japa there, then surely I should also be able to do. So first I was terribly irritated. Wherever I come, our Vedanta center was much better. Here I have come and sitting in this wonderful place and people shouting. So the idea is these vrittis, these chitta vrittis, they are whirlpools. So naturally, in a placid lake, if you throw stones, if you throw one stone, there will be one whirlpool. If you throw 100 stones, just imagine what is the condition of that water. So you can't see the reflection. If you go to a very peaceful place and it's a transparent water, then you can see the bottom. You can see the Purusha. But when the Chitta Vritti creates thoughts, how are these thoughts created? As I said, thought is a force. It is like a gravitational force, repulsion, force of attraction of magnets, electromagnetic force. There's so many forces. Now, how are these thoughts coming to our mind? Why are these thoughts of Africa or some America or some far off place where we have not been, or even if we have been, it is in the. Why are we not focused on the present thoughts? If I'm doing puja, I should be focused on the puja thoughts. I should not be thinking of others. Sri Ramakrishna could not tolerate it. He used to go and slap Rani Rasmani. He said, "You are sitting, I'm singing nicely, and you are thinking of your lawsuit, what will happen. This is not the place to think of a lawsuit." So he could read the mind. How could he read the mind? That secret is given here. He says, from the infinite storehouse of thought force in the world, the instrument called chitta. Now you see what chitta means is it is like a telephone or a wireless receiver. There are so many waves, but you need a receiver to receive it. So he says the instrument called chitta, my chitta, your chitta, that is mind stuff. It has a capacity according to how you have trained your mind. If you have trained your mind properly, it will receive only good signals. But unfortunately, if it is not trained, it will receive all noises, everything it will receive. And the whole transmit, the voice is, sometimes you see the phone gives so many wrong signals and radio transmission is not clear because the chitta or the radio set is not proper. It's not able to focus on one particular wave. So the instrument called chitta, that is our mind, which is takes hold of some of the immense whirlpool. Now, even if you go to solitude, this is one important thing you have to remember. Solitude is only physical. Even in the most quiet place, the whirlpool of thoughts is always there. It is known as the infinite storehouse of thoughts. Thoughts not of one person, thoughts of the whole entire population, not only of men but animals. Animals all also vibrate, send some vibrations, dogs and all, how they respond to thoughts. So there are so many creatures around you, and the whole world is a whirlpool of thoughts. Just as we have, the whole world is made of so many atoms and molecules. There is this whole thought universe. And what your chitta does is, that's why they say don't bother about what your surroundings are. Even when crazy people were there, Holy Mother took care of her chitta. Chitta means her mind stuff. Then you can take on the entire world, no matter how much. In the initial stages, you may feel irritated, but Holy Mother was so calm with all these crazy people and negative vibrations, plus the vibrations which we don't see, that is the universal vibrations. They are always there. They can come from any part of the world. So, Swamiji says the instrument called chitta, our own mind, mind stuff, not mind. Mind is made of many things, as I told you. Antakarana also is the four aspects explained now. It takes hold of it takes hold of some. Now, the radio, according to the frequency you have tuned, it will take only those signals. Otherwise, you can't hear a particular. When you switch on the mobile, if you take a call, only that vibration will come. Otherwise, wireless vibration, there are so many calls going on. But your phone has been tuned, the chitta has been tuned to see which thoughts come to your mind. That is the only control you have. So you can decide whether you want silent mode or anything. You can just like an instrument, it's just like an electromagnetic instrument with consciousness. It can choose which vibrations from the world around you, or the thought world around you. They are also vibrations. So thoughts are vibrations and they come and impact your chitta, and the chitta decides which ones to allow. So if your instrument is perfect through practice of yoga, then you choose the right instruments. Now, force is supplied to us. Now, what is the force that gives rise to thought? Then you need energy. Even to create transmission, you need tremendous electric energy to send those waves. Everything works with some kind of energy behind it. So there is a force in this universe to move a vehicle, gross vehicle, to move vibrations, to move sound, to move anything, you need some vehicle. So what is the force that gives rise to our thoughts? So if you see, there are in the Upanishads, they said, if you want to test, you just stop eating, then you will find your weak thoughts become weaker and weaker, because it doesn't get thoughts are not just uh, chitta giving rise to whirlpools of vibrations. If the vibrations have to be strong, the prana has to be strong. That is why they say pranayama, and prana means pranayama, and also eating of food, proper food, nutritious food, which gives rise to force. So Swamiji says food is force, that prana is supplied to food, and out of that food, the body obtains the power of motion. Others, the finer forces, it throws out in what we call thought. So if you are well, that's why Sri Ramakrishna said religion cannot be practiced on an empty stomach. It may help you to train your senses not to be greedy and not to diet, and it will help you to reduce your weight and other things. But if too much of starving is there, your brain thoughts are not produced. So he says, uh, we the forces that enable us to maintain the body, five pranas, I'll not discuss that. Five pranas are needed to make the body function smoothly. So also they supply energy to our thoughts. So wholesome thoughts, good thoughts. That is why these Ramanuja followers, Vaishnavas, they give so much importance to the tamasic food, rajasic food. They say because they are obsessed with this idea. Though food has some role to play in the quality of thoughts, but it's not everything. There are other factors. How you treat other people, how you behave with other people, how you develop your character. That will give rise to good thoughts. Not just good food, but food is an important thing. That's why those who are Vaishnavas, they think food alone is enough. If we take a vegetarian diet, that alone will give rise to good thoughts. No, Thakur Sri Ramakrishna himself said, there are people who eat vegetarian, but they are jealous, they are fighting, they are quarrel. Then how can you explain that? Are all vegetarians good people? Or similarly, are all those who eat non-vegetarian, or are all bad people? So there has to be some logic. So whatever it is, food has an impact. So good wholesome food, like by food here, Swami Vivekananda explains, it's the food not just we take through the mouth. That is one aspect, 1/5 of the entire food that we consume. What we see through the eyes is also food. So just eating vegetarian food or good food or nutritious food will help the body. Definitely, it will help the body to become sattvic. So there are, in the Gita very clearly it is said there are sattvic food. Foods can be classified into sattvic, that is that which lead to peace, rajasic, that is that leads to energy, and then tamasic, which makes you lazy. So lazy or violent. So there are many types of food. They may have an impact, but we should not overemphasize that only through good food. There are other avenues, other food, other aspects of ahara. Ahara means that which you consume. So you may consume through your eyes. So if you don't see good things or don't see pleasant things, then there is a chance that you are consuming bad food through the eyes, bad food through the ears, listening to gossip and other things. Then there are so many other things which give bad food to the mind. So mind gets food from all these five organs, not just the mouth. You have to remember that. So, but what it throws out is impacted by this food. So you have to be very careful what goes in. Because what goes in, what you consume, only that will go out. So Sri Ramakrishna used to give a very crude example. He said, if you eat radish, you will belch radish smell. It's not that you will, if you eat cardamom, you will maybe, because what you throw in is thrown out. So you have to be careful. The only control you have is what you allow to be thrown in. So that you, in a purification process, if only good things are seen, good things are heard, good things are eaten, then all that cumulative effect of taking in good things will destroy or will negate the impact of bad things which we have consumed for several lives. Patanjali will say that it's not just one life. We have had these memories. Chitta stores everything. It's like an attic. You store good things, you can dump bad things. So when you open it, you have to face everything. So that's why some people they need, because there are so many bad things in the attic. So it has to be flushed out by many good deeds. Some may require less effort, some may require depending on how much of garbage is there. So mind itself is an instrument. Now that is the point he wants to make clear, that the chitta, what you see is not a decision making, it's just an instrument. So buddhi is also not, buddhi can help the mind to take the right decision, but ultimately it is the purusha. Because the intelligent soul behind it, that is the goal of yoga. He says chitta vritti nirodha. Why? Not just because that will help you. That will help you, vritti nirodha, when you stop, when somebody is continuously throwing stones on a lake, you can't see the bottom. But when the stone throwing stops, then there is a chance that you can see what is at the bottom. The lake becomes peaceful. So this is the condition. Chitta Vritta Nirodha is not, it's the goal, it's the final goal of yoga. If the thoughts stop completely, then you are face to face. There's no problem. Eternally, you'll be solving what you call in nirvana in Buddhism, what you call moksha in Vedanta is kaivalya in this Patanjali's yoga. So this whole idea of Chitta Vritti Nirodha, once it is understood, then we'll discuss the sutras very easily and quickly. Uh, Other sutras Swamiji has not commented so much because there are different techniques. So in the next class, we will discuss the other sutras, but the four sutras are very important. The first four, you need more and more explanation. That's why I just recapitulated or try to uh, explain in more detail this Chitta Vritti Nirodha, because we tend to forget. If you forget this second sutra, that is what is Chitta, what is Antakarana, what is Vrittis, uh, one has to revise that before we go to the third sutras, because it will tell if we don't do Chitta Vritti Nirodha, what will happen. That so the whole four sutras they will tell you if you do yoga, what will happen. If you don't practice yoga, what will happen. That is going to happen because most of us are not practicing yoga in the real sense of the term. So we are just leading our lives. That is will be explained by the third sutra. So that we'll discuss in the next class. Let us keep the topics separately. Now, first, Patanjali is showing us what will happen if you practice yoga. The third sutra will tell you what will happen if you don't practice yoga. Then, what is the result? In that verse also, or that sutra also, Swami Vivekananda has explained. Uh, what he has explained in brief, but we'll try to see what its implications, because we are in that state now. Most of us are trying to practice yoga, and to the extent we are trying to practice yoga, our lives are peaceful. But the moment we go back to the third sutra, which we'll discuss in the next class, you will find what our real condition is. Okay, so if there are questions, you can ask. We can switch off the video and audio. Yeah. On Google Meet. If there are some questions on YouTube or Zoom, you can ask. Yes. Oh, there is one question. If by the time you decide, there's one question on Zoom, so I'll answer that. Yes. Hmm. My God. See, all 1 hour I spent explaining what vritti is. Anyway, you just listen to the whole talk again. It is there on YouTube. Zoom, it will not be there. Google Meet also, it will not be there. It will be recorded. So you go back to the YouTube, our YouTube channel. What is vritti? I've answered. Now, the second part of your question is how to control it. Now, that is the rest of the sutras. So you have to be patient. Yeah, so I'll briefly answer this question. Three parts to this question. Somebody has asked on Zoom. First is what is vrittis. Now I'll not answer because it's a long, it will take 1 more hour. But I was explaining the same thing. If you have attended from the beginning, vritti is very clearly, because I explained what chitta is, I explained what vritti is. So please go through the YouTube live. It was live, but now its recording will be available on YouTube. So that is the first part. Second thing, how to control it. The whole Patanjali Sutras, at least the first chapter, deals only with that. So you have to wait, because there are not one step, there are hundreds of steps. I mean, 8 steps basically, but there are so many other conditions that need to be fulfilled. So Chitta Vritti Nirodha is not so easy. The second. And third is, third part. Okay, how can the second part, third part I'll answer because it's a brief, I can answer briefly. He said, how can we allow only good vrittis to, we can, good vrittis to form and prevent the bad vrittis? It's very simple. Go have satsang. Go to a place where good vrittis are spoken of, or read good vrittis, read things which will produce good vrittis. You don't need, I mean, it's such a simple thing. And avoid evil company. That's all.
Your talk gave an excellent way to explain how the mind, an important instrument and brain functions,
Okay.
and what is breathing, and how yoga helps controlling breathing to achieve calmness and concentrate. How can we how can we allow only good things to be accepted and negate effectively
Okay.
bad things?
Okay.
But my parents of dying patients don't want to accept this. They are going to court. How can I really help my trusted parents to diffuse the situation?
My God, it's a very long question. So I think uh, I, maybe, yeah. So it's there are so many questions you have asked in one question. It's not possible to answer. Maybe in the next class. Uh, but the thing is, as I told you briefly, if you have understood what vritti is, if you have understood the need of controlling vrittis, which is the goal of yoga and goal of all religious effort, and that is the only way the other smaller problems that you are speaking of, old parents and all these things are part of our worldly problem. There can be many complex problems. Problems of inheriting money and property, uh, looking after old parents. There are so many problems when you
Dying patients.
parents of the dying patients. Okay, okay. Oh, parents of the dying. Yeah, that is a specific case. You see, there are these things are very complex, especially in hospitals. So when you are dealing with parents of dying patients who are very much attached to their children, obviously it is a very challenging thing. It's not so easy to deal with this problem because you cannot give a shortcut solution. uh, Yoga, especially yoga, is a long drawn process. So if one has practiced yoga throughout, especially Patanjali's yoga, and one has controlled been able to have some kind of control over the mind, then one can attempt to answer this question, because it is obviously, it's very obvious that any person who is dying and the parents will feel disturbed, or parents will uh, feel it's a terrible even thought to imagine for other people, leave alone confronting it. So those who are very dear and near to you, and you see them dying, it's not such a easy s- problem. I mean, it's not a very simple problem that you can handle. Even if you are uh, practicing yoga for a long time, even people like Arjuna, when he lost his children in the battle, he had a shock. He also cried. Even Rama, the incarnation Rama, when Sita was taken away, he was also weeping. He said, "How could I just allow this to happen?" So these calamities which happen in life, obviously, mm, don't have a shortcut solution. See, that is why we practice religion for our whole life, hoping that it will help us to negotiate all the situations which are apparently human help doesn't, uh, I mean, come to our help. Humans cannot help us. Nobody can prevent a deceased person from dying. The doctors may try their best, so it has no simple solution. Yeah. Yoga is a very long drawn process, let me tell you. Like all other religious spiritual methods, don't think there is a shortcut. We often think there is some magical, some kind of shortcut. When you go to religion, all your problems will be automatically solved. It has not been solved. Even Ramakrishna had to suffer from cancer. And so they come, and Jesus had to be crucified unjustly, and he bore it very quietly. The idea is Prakriti, because of its changing nature, the goal of yoga is to, as quickly as possible, disidentify with Prakriti, who is causing all the trouble. And one of the main ways to control the chitta vrittis, because they connect you to the whole world. And then once you are established in yoga, then all the solutions to your problems that you face, whichever problem the problem of death, problem of illness, problem of poverty. Everything can be dealt with if one is established in yoga. So, are there any questions, Prithvish, on your Google Meet?
I have a comment. So basically, my takeaway from I have tried to understand from this, not a question. That is, chitta is the mind stuff
Yes.
which has evolved from Prakriti, and
Yes.
I am the Purusha,
Yes.
and all these vrittis are waves of distractions from the world.
From the
And
chit,
so,
yeah. No. They are not distractions induced by the world, but they are happening in your mind. So it's not that.
in my mind.
Yeah.
So the goal is to calm the mind through japa and other things.
Yes.
Isolate Purusha.
Not isolate, yes. So you may say isolate, but the idea is to identify with the Purusha rather than the Prakriti. Because the problem is created by Prakriti, and her agency, the immediate agency that is causing our troubles, is our own mind. So Buddha gave a wonderful solution. He says all the problems are not outside. You can't change the people outside. You can't change the situation outside. If there is anything that you can do to remove your suffering, is deal with your own mind, because suffering is in the mind and it can be solved by handling the mind properly. So mind is the instrument. So no matter what the signals and what the vibrations are outside, they can't impact you if your mind chooses what to allow, which signals to allow. Then you have clear transmission. Then you can choose what only the good things, but leaving out the bad things. As simple as that. Japa and all are meant for that only. Everything is meant for that. Pranayama, eating good food, everything ultimately in yoga, the goal is to somehow stop the chitta vrittis. Because they
creating the discernment, ability to discern.
Yeah. It creates complications because by its very nature, Prakriti is changing. And people don't like that. If they are rich, they want to remain rich. If they are healthy, they want to remain healthy eternally, which is not possible. So there will be ups and downs. The very nature of Prakriti is life and death, they are alternating. Good health and light and shade, they are always moving in pairs. So Swami Vivekananda said, happiness comes with the crown of misery on its head. So it will come, but unfortunately it doesn't come alone. The crown of misery is always there. So, understanding this dual nature, Vedanta and also yoga says that you have to somehow free yourself from the clutches of Prakriti.
Yeah, got it. No, thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. So, shall we conclude, or there is one more question? Huh? Just one more question.
Okay.
We have time. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they want to go to court.
Who wants to go to the court?
The parents of the dying patient.
See, these are legal. No, we better not to answer this because these are other matters not connected with yoga. The parents of the dying patients want to go to the court. Now, these are not connected to our subject here because these are legal matters. These have to be dealt by the law-making body, and these are social problems. So, of course, in general, if the mind is controlled through yoga, then many of the issues, including this, can be handled. But when it becomes a court matter, it has to be solved through the court. There's no yoga involved in that.
Diffusing the situation.
Definitely, it will make the person who, how yoga will help in diffusing the situation. It will not solve the problem. As I told you, what yoga will not do to you is in the third sutra. Just wait, attend the next class. What yoga will not do, what religion will not do, it will not solve your problems. worldly problems. It will help you to transcend them. If it had helped any human being to solve the problem, then Jesus would have solved his problem by not getting crucified and escaping. He himself died on a cross. What more suffering can you imagine? So, all the other problems which we face are very, very trivial compared to what Jesus faced, what Sri Ramakrishna himself faced when he was having throat cancer. So, religion is not meant, what it is not meant to do is, it is not meant to solve our problems caused by Prakriti. Because Prakriti, the nature of Prakriti is make you happy one moment, make you depressed another moment because of the fluctuation. Because of the good situations, you are happy, but no person can say that I was throughout my life I was happy. No person will ever say that I was always unhappy. So Prakriti is very nature, dual nature. That's why Vedanta says you have to go beyond Prakriti. They call it Maya. Yoga will say it is Prakriti. It's the same thing. So Purusha, the only rest is in Purusha. So that's why Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is the kingdom of the spirit. So my Lord is, the Lord he spoke of, the God he spoke of, was not who will give you some kind of toys and some objects of enjoyment. That God, Jesus was very clear. He is spirit, and he will help you by spiritualizing you, and you become one. I and my Father are one, he says in the Bible. That means he became one with Purusha. That is the goal. So whether it is yoga, whether it is Christianity, everyone does not promise this earth. That is one thing one has to be clear. No problem, however big, however small, however trivial, however great, is resolved to our satisfaction, to satisfy our ego by the process of religion. If anybody thinks that religion will solve his petty problems, then he is mistaken. Jesus did not promise that. Buddha did not promise that. They only promised eternal salvation or moksha. Vedanta does not promise that. So none of the genuine religions will promise that. But of course, there are people who give a wrong interpretation and say that practicing religion will make you rich, which is absurd. It will never make you rich. It never made anyone rich. It never saved anyone's life, physical life, I mean. But it will give you eternal life. As Jesus said, my kingdom is the kingdom of spirit, not the kingdom which Romans were afraid of losing. They thought Jesus wants, when he says he's an emperor of the spiritual world, they thought he's trying to displace the kings. So, but he clearly was shouting from rooftops that my kingdom is the kingdom of spirit. It has nothing to do with the worldly things. It doesn't promise anything in the world. Okay? So, the many questions dealing with the particular cases of what is happening in NHS or, yeah. Uh, no, no, no. I'll rather not give them that solution. There will be solutions. Obviously, you have to consult the right people. I'm the wrong person. If they go to the court, there are definitely ways and means where these things can be resolved in a temporary way. Yeah. Okay. Om Shanti. Shall we conclude for today? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna